Have you ever sat in silence and felt the whole world bow before you? There is a temple hidden deep in the mountains of Kyoto, where the stones are worn smooth by centuries of bare feet, and the air hums with something older than words. It is said that in this place, silence is not empty, it is alive. And if you listen closely, it will teach you the truest form of worship. Let me tell you about the day a troubled samurai came to this temple and how the silence changed him forever. His name was Takeshi, a warrior of great renown, feared in battle, honored by his lord, but inside he was drowning. The screams of the fallen haunted his dreams. The weight of his blade, once a source of pride, now felt like a chain around his soul. One evening, covered in the dust of the road, he stood before the temple gates. The old monk sweeping the courtyard did not look up. Takeshi's voice was rough from disuse, his words like stones dropped into still water. "I have come to find peace." The monk kept sweeping. The only sound was the whisper of straw on stone. Minutes passed. Takeshi's jaw tightened. He was a man used to commands being obeyed, to fear and respect in equal measure. Yet this frail old man dared ignore him. Just as his temper flared, the monk finally spoke, without turning. "Your sword. Leave it." Takeshi hesitated. A samurai's blade was his soul. To part with it was unthinkable, but something in the monk's voice, not a demand but an offering, made him unbuckle it with stiff fingers. The moment the sword clattered to the ground, he felt lighter, as if he'd put down something far heavier than steel. The monk led him to a bare room. No statues, no scrolls, just a single cushion facing a blank wall. "Sit," he said. Takeshi knelt, back straight as his spear. The monk left without another word. Hours crawled by. The silence pressed against Takeshi's ears. At first it was unbearable. His mind roared louder than any battlefield. Memories, regrets, the ceaseless churn of thoughts. He shifted, coughed. The floor was agony on his knees. Why wouldn't the monk return? What was the point of this torture? Dusk painted the room blue when the old man finally reappeared. "You wish to learn peace," he said. "But peace is not something you find. It is what remains when you stop running." Takeshi opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. The monk placed a cup of tea before him. "Tomorrow you will sit again." Days turned to weeks. Takeshi's body grew accustomed to the stillness, but his mind still raged. One morning, as he sat seething over some long-ago insult, a maple leaf drifted through the open window. It spun lazily in the air, catching sunlight like a flickering ember before landing perfectly in his lap. All at once, his anger dissolved. He stared at the leaf, its veins like tiny rivers, edges slightly curled. How many such moments had he missed, lost in the noise of his own head? The monk's voice came softly from the doorway. "The world speaks if you let it." Then came the night of the great storm. Rain lashed the temple walls. Thunder shook the very foundations. Takeshi sat bolt upright, hand flying to where his sword should be. The monk, however, remained cross-legged, eyes closed, face serene. "How can you be so calm?" Takeshi shouted over the wind. "The storm could tear this place apart." The monk's reply was barely audible. "And will your fear stop it?" In that moment, Takeshi understood. His whole life had been a battle, against enemies, against himself. But here in this fragile wooden room, the monk was untouched. Not because the storm didn't come, but because he didn't resist it. Takeshi exhaled. For the first time in years, he let go. When dawn came, the storm had passed. The monk handed Takeshi back his sword. "You came seeking peace," he said, "but peace was always here. You just needed to stop long enough to hear it." Takeshi bowed deeply, not as a warrior to an opponent, but as one soul recognizing another. He left the sword at the temple gate. We spend our lives chasing answers, shouting our prayers into the wind, but the holiest truths are not spoken. They are heard in the space between breaths, in the quiet that wraps around us when we finally stop. The next time silence unsettles you, remember, It is not an absence. It is the universe holding its breath, waiting for you to listen. And that is worship.